Nowadays, clematis are grown in containers, which enables planting throughout the vegetation season, from March till the beginning of November. The best time for planting is the end of summer, the second half of August, September, and beginning of October. Then the plant has enough time to take root before the winter comes, and later during winter thaws and early spring. By May, when the heat and drought come, it will be nicely rooted and will bloom beautifully in the summer. Of course, if you lack the time or opportunity in autumn, you can plant clematis in spring, at the end of March, in April, May, or in summer. Clematis can be planted next to a wall, for example by a trellis or another support. It's worth remembering that if the building has deep foundations or a cellar underneath, the plant should be placed about 30 to 40 centimetres away from the wall. It can be trained over fences, arbours and pergolas, or among independent constructions. Consider planting clematis among other plants and letting them intermingle like in natural surroundings. It adds dynamism to your garden, making it a bit different every day. What plant to choose? Its container shouldn't be smaller than 2 litres. Make sure the plant has a developed root system. It will then root and grow well. It is more important to buy a good, healthy plant from a reliable source than to buy it cheaply. Clematis is a perennial plant and may last for a good couple of years, sometimes even longer than a decade. Therefore, it's more economical to invest in a good plant. It's worth choosing a well-described plant, with the producer's label and with at least 2 strong shoots at the base. I recommend clematis from our nursery, labelled with the Source of the Good Climbers trademark. This is our seal and quality guarantee. On our labels, you will find a description, planting instruction and basic information. If needed, you can use the advice and information about the cultivar on our website, www.clematis.com.pl. The address is also provided on the plant labels. Before planting, immerse the plant in water for 5 to 10 minutes to allow optimum absorption. It is said that clematis like their heads in the sun and their bases in shadow. It is not always true. It applies to clematis with double flowers of deep and usually dark colour, such as the President or Lady Betty Balfour, as well as to Viticella, Tangutica and Texensis group. However, large-flowered, pale-coloured clematis, such as Nelly Moser, Dr. Ruppel, Hania, Yulka, Comtesse de Bouchard, Hagley Hybrid, or General Sikorsky, don't like hot, sun-exposed sites. Their flowering period will be shorter, and the colours will seem faded. The same goes for Atragene group. These plants will thrive in a light spot that's shielded from the full sun of noon hours. Clematis prefer fertile, loose, well-drained soil, moist but not saturated. Some of the varieties in particular dislike standing water. That is mainly Tangutica group, but also large-flowered clematis, such as Beautiful Bride. Barbara, or Lekwoense, all Flammula groups, varieties, and most of the Atragene group. If you deal with a dense soil area where it can be too wet, it's a good idea to provide an outflow. Before planting, remember to place a draining layer at the bottom. Generally, whether the soil is compacted and clayish or poor and sandy, it's better to prepare the spot beforehand, mixing in some peat, ground bark or manure. For clematis, it's better to dig a 40 by 40 centimetre hole or even 60 by 60 in a poor soil. The topsoil is more fertile, so I put it aside to place it later underneath the roots. The soil here is well drained. I've chosen a spot on a gentle slope, so it shouldn't be too moist.
Jest taki mniej więcej dół, mógłby być może głębszy. Tu jest gleba, która jest dalej przepuszczalna. Poza tym to jest na takiej minimalnej skarpie. Nie powinno być.
But just in case, I will use some drainage. You can use gravel and then some finer grit. I'm using gravelite.
Można wsypać tłuczeń, potem żwir. Ja sobie keramzyt. Jeżeli by nie było odpływu wody, to ten keramzyt.
I place a piece of mesh on top, so the soil does not block the drainage.
Od razu tego drenażu, tak? To będzie bardziej skuteczny. No to dowolna siatka może być. Byle była odpowiednio gęsta.
Next I spread some well-rotted manure that I mixed 1-to-1 with bark a couple of months ago. The mixture should not have direct contact with the roots in case it burns them, but still they will have access to the nutritious substances. I add some local soil, at the same time cutting into the walls of the hole. This is particularly important when the soil is compacted, as the cuts allow the roots to grow into it. I blend some of the topsoil, an organic matter, which is a mixture of peat, ground bark, with the addition of slow-release fertilizer and well-rotted manure or compost. I mix it all together.
Do tego dosypię trochę ziemi miejscowej. I trochę dobrze rozłożonego obornika, czy jakiegoś dobrego kompostu. To wszystko mieszam i w to będę za chwilę sadzić. Jeżeli będziemy sadzili
Large-flowered clematis of Verticella or Texensis group should be planted 5 to 10 centimetres deeper than they were before. These cultivars develop roots at the stem base, so deep planting ensures a better developed root system. The plant will be stronger, healthier, more resilient, and flowers will be born generously. This clematis is planted 10 centimetres deeper than before. I often place 2 specimens of the same cultivar in one hole to obtain a stronger plant with more flowers. Such twin planting better controls the water content in the soil. Clematis of Atragene group should be planted at the same depth as they were before. In these varieties, the stems don't develop extra roots at the base, and if covered too deeply, they are susceptible to disease and grow more slowly.
Pędy tych odmian nie będą się ukorzeniały, a ich przykrycie powoduje zagrożenie chorobami, pogarsza ich zdrowotność, ich wzrost. Widać, to jest ten sam poziom. Po ustawieniu, po tej lekkim zagęszczeniu pod spodem.
After placing the root ball carefully in the hole, I cover it with the prepared soil. I press it down, but not too firmly. The air is necessary for the root growth, so we don't want to push it all out.
powietrze jest niezbędne do dobrego wzrostu korzeni. Przy silnym ugniataniu wypychamy to powietrze.
I water the plant and spread some mulch around. You can also plant around some shallow-rooted ground cover. I recommend geranium, especially the Cambridge variety that has shallow roots and doesn't grow too high. It will cover the ground, protecting it from the heat and from water evaporation. Mulching prevents weed growth, moisture loss, and also protects the roots from freezing during harsh, snowless winters. Clematis don't tolerate dry soil. It's possible to water them by hand, of course. But installing a watering system is worth considering. We use a trickle irrigation system. The pipes are placed 40 to 50 centimetres apart. For plants requiring more water, they can be placed closer. But what to do if the soil is saturated and we have to deal with excess water? Or if you have plants with different water requirements placed near one another? Like, for example, large flowered clematis or flammula group. I plant them around large shrubs, near the roots. Then the shrub drinks up the surplus water. When the soil is compacted and moist in the whole garden, a draining system can be installed. Draining pipes are laid under the plants, and using the slope, they dispose of the water. That will solve the flooding problem. To provide better air access to the roots, you can vertically dig in 1 or 2 pieces of pipe around the root area. It is better to fertilize clematis in the spring, when buds are swelling and new growth appears. I usually apply osmosote, 5 to 6 meters in small doses of 5 to 6 grams. I place them directly under the plant in small holes 5 to 6 centimeters deep. You can use other kinds of fertilizers, powdered, granular, fast-released ones. You can add them when watering the plants. However, it's important to remember that fertilizers are mineral salts, not food that the plants ingest, and the more the better. Fertilizer is necessary for the plant's healthy growth, but you have to be careful not to overdo it. All vines, including clematis, need a support to climb on. During their nursery time, bamboo poles were enough for them. In the garden, you can use all kinds of support. Here, I'll use this metal support about 180 centimeters high. For this variety, it can be a bit small, but I don't want to use up too much space here. This is why I'll twine the shoots round and round, making the plant seem smaller. When it reaches the top, I will let the shoots overhang. It will look very attractive in full bloom. The support is built of thin rods. This enables the leaf petiolae, by which the plant climbs, to hold onto them and climb up. This clematis I have just planted and prepared will look spectacular here. I wish you enjoyable and successful growing of these and other vines.